Hi Year 3. So today we're going to be identifying and classifying properties of shapes. We're going to name two-dimensional shapes, including quadrilaterals. We're going to define parallel and perpendicular lines and revisit those in relation to shape. And we will classify the properties of shapes using a Venn diagram. So let's see if you can name these two-dimensional shapes. Let's have a look. Yeah, so we have a circle with a curved line. Okay, these shapes have either straight or curved lines, or some shapes have a combination of both. So now I am describing the properties of some of these shapes. So this one has a curved line, it's a circle. Can you think of any other properties? Can you describe these shapes and the properties that they have? Just pause the video and have a think. So we can describe these two-dimensional shapes, these shapes that have width and length but don't have depth, like 3D shapes, by looking at the properties. Some of the properties of these shapes we can see are corners or vertices and how many edges that they have. Okay, so let's see if you've got the names of the shapes right. We've got the circle, we have got a rhombus. A rhombus is similar to a parallelogram. The key difference here, I wonder if you recognise this, just see if you can notice the difference. If you said that a rhombus has 4 equal sides in length and measurement, and that a parallelogram has 2 sides that are parallel, this top one and bottom one that are of equal length, and the 2 on the vertical plane are of equal length to each other, but not all 4 sides are of equal length, similar to a rectangle. Okay, so we've got here a right-angled triangle, and this links in with some of your learning about lines on your last lesson. Can you work out what that might be? Thinking about angles, I'm thinking about lines. Have a think. Okay, we're going to talk about these special lines in more detail. So we have got perpendicular lines, line running vertically, and a line running horizontally. Where they intercept, we have a 90-degree angle. Okay, so these are called perpendicular lines, these two here. We have got a trapezium. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-sided shape. That must be a pentagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-sided shape. That must be a hexagon. So parallel lines, let's just define what that term means. Parallel lines are always the same distance apart. We can say the lines are equidistant. They will never meet. Why do you think this might be useful for engineers creating a train track? Pause the video. I think it's important because it keeps people safe. If the lines of the train track narrowed, for example, then the train is likely to derail because it would no longer fit on the track. So it's really important in jobs such as engineering and interior design to be able to measure things accurately. So this other word, perpendicular, perpendicular lines. Let's have a look. We mentioned this when we looked at the right-angled triangle. Perpendicular lines have one vertical line, top to bottom, and one horizontal line. And these cross each other with a 90-degree angle. 90 degrees is the equivalent to a quarter turn. So within this we have 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. And if you add those all up together, 4 times 90, you will get a full turn. Okay? See if you can work that out. You can pause the video if you like. So we're going to have a look at some shapes with a special name. The shapes on here are called quadrilaterals, and they are shapes with 4 sides. The term quad means 4. If you think of going quad biking, I don't know if you know what that is. You can always Google it. But it's essentially a bike that feels a little bit more like an open air truck, but it's got 4 wheels, hence why it's called quad biking. So quadrilaterals are shapes with 4 sides. Can you name these? Let's see if you can remember. Pause the video. So we have got a rectangle, we have got a trapezium, we have got a rhombus, we have got a kite, parallelogram, and a square, equal sides. Now this shape at the bottom is a bit left out. It's a little bit different. What's different about this shape? Have a look at it, pause the video, and have a think. Did you manage to explain it? This shape is a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides, but it is an irregular shape. And it is irregular because it has unequal sides and angles. So we're going to move on to looking at how we might classify properties of shape. We can use a simple table to calculate how many sides a shape might have and how many vertices or how many corners. Triangle would have 3 sides and 3 corners, and we can go down and continue. We can also classify 2-dimensional shapes and their properties using a circle. Inside the circle I would be putting all the shapes with 4 sides, and on the outside of the circle, the ones without 4 sides, either bigger or smaller number of sides, would be outside the circle, so I could see visually and very clearly which shapes had 4 sides. Why do you think this might be useful? What do you think it might tell me? I think it would be useful because it would tell me which shapes are quadrilaterals. Most of the shapes here are quadrilaterals. Can you see which ones would go inside the circle, which have 4 sides, and which ones would not be inside the circle, would be here? Pause the video. Okay, so this is a more sophisticated way of showing the property of shape, and it links up to the learning so far about parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and how these link up to 2-dimensional shapes. Okay, so let's have a look at the rectangle. Has a rectangle got parallel lines? Yes, it does. It has 2 parallel lines here and a further 2 parallel lines here. Is it a perpendicular shape? It has got perpendicular lines because we have a vertical line here and we have a horizontal line here that intercept to create a right angle, which can be likened to a book corner. Okay, so this one has both parallel lines and perpendicular lines, and therefore I would need to place the rectangle in the middle because it has both properties and therefore it needs to go in this space. So I'd like you to have a look at the other shapes. See if you can name them. You can either cut them out and stick them into the correct place on the Venn diagram, or you could draw them neatly with a ruler and label them, or you could label them in the correct part of the Venn diagram. The sheet will be on DB Primary. Okay, well, I'll look forward to seeing your work. And that is the end of the lesson. So good luck.